If your wife has started acting like this, something inside the relationship has already changed. I'm a woman, and I need you to hear this carefully. What I'm about to tell you today is uncomfortable, emotional, and deeply misunderstood. Because when women emotionally disconnect, when secrecy starts replacing intimacy, the signs almost always appear long before the truth does. And most men miss them because they're still operating from love, trust, and hope, while the emotional landscape around them is quietly shifting beneath their feet. What I'm about to share with you is not about creating paranoia or teaching you to accuse someone you love. It's about understanding human behavior. It's about recognizing emotional patterns that psychologists have studied for decades. Because when someone begins living a double emotional life, their energy changes before their words ever do. Their routines shift. Their reactions change. Their nervous system starts telling a story their mouth is trying desperately to hide. And if you ignore those emotional contradictions for too long, you can end up questioning your own instincts instead of paying attention to them. And I want you to really think about this for a second. Have you ever been in a relationship where something felt off, but you kept convincing yourself you were overthinking? Have you ever noticed a sudden emotional distance, a coldness, a strange tension you couldn't explain? Maybe you asked a simple question and got treated like you committed a crime. Maybe you started feeling lonely sitting right beside the person you love. If that resonates with you, stay with me until the end of this video because one of the biggest mistakes people make is ignoring behavioral shifts that are screaming for attention. And while you're here, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below telling me what city you're watching from. I always love seeing where this community is connecting from around the world. I'm Lauren Garcia, the host of the Lauren Psychology Diary, and on this channel, we talk honestly about relationships, emotional intelligence, attachment, betrayal, and the hidden psychology behind human behavior. Not to shame people, not to divide men and women, but to help you understand the emotional realities most people are too afraid to talk about openly. The first shift many people notice is sudden phone obsession. And no, having a phone isn't suspicious. We all live on our devices now. But psychologically, what matters is behavioral change. Before her phone could sit on the couch unattended for hours, suddenly it never leaves her hand. It's face down, passwords change, notifications are hidden. She takes it into the bathroom, turns the screen away when texting, and becomes strangely tense if you even glance in its direction. Now here's what's fascinating psychologically. When someone forms a secret emotional attachment, the phone becomes more than a device. It becomes an emotional portal. Every message creates anticipation. Every notification triggers dopamine. Research on emotional affairs shows that secrecy itself intensifies attachment, because the brain interprets hidden excitement as heightened emotional value. In other words, the forbidden nature of the interaction can make it feel more intoxicating than it really is. I once worked with a couple where the husband told me, "I knew something changed because she started smiling at her phone in a way she stopped smiling at me." That sentence stayed with me for years because emotional betrayal often begins long before physical betrayal does. It begins in attention, in emotional energy, in where someone's excitement flows naturally when they think nobody is watching. The second shift is irritation that seems to come from nowhere. Suddenly, basic questions feel dangerous to her. "How was your day?" becomes, "Why are you interrogating me?" "What time are you coming home?" becomes, "Why are you controlling me?" And if you've experienced this, you know how confusing it feels because you start questioning yourself. You become careful, softer, more hesitant. You walk on eggshells trying not to trigger another explosion. But psychologically, guilt often creates defensiveness. When people feel internally conflicted, even innocent questions can feel threatening because their nervous system is already operating under stress. They're managing emotional contradictions, hiding information, and trying to maintain two realities at once. That internal pressure leaks outward as irritability. And here's the dangerous part. Over time, you stop asking questions altogether. You stop expressing concern. You shrink your own emotional needs just to keep the peace. This is how emotional imbalance quietly develops inside relationships. One person becomes emotionally unavailable, while the other becomes emotionally hypervigilant. The third shift is one of the most heartbreaking because on the surface, it actually looks positive. She starts glowing again. More confidence, more effort in her appearance, more energy, more excitement about life. And part of you feels happy seeing her alive again, until you realize that energy no longer feels connected to you. Now let me say something important here. A woman improving herself is not proof of cheating, not at all. Healthy people evolve constantly. But when the emotional intimacy inside the relationship is declining while her external excitement is rapidly increasing somewhere else, that contrast matters. Psychologists call this novelty-driven dopamine activation. New attention feels exciting because the brain loves unpredictability. New compliments hit differently. New validation feels intoxicating. And sadly, stable love can sometimes become emotionally invisible when people stop nurturing it intentionally. I remember a woman once admitting during a counseling session, "I didn't fall for him because he was better than my husband. I fell for how I felt around him." That distinction matters deeply. Affairs are often less about the other person and more about emotional escape, validation, or unresolved emotional hunger. The fourth shift is emotional absence during intimacy. And this one hurts because it's incredibly difficult to explain unless you've experienced it firsthand. Physically, she may still be present. Maybe intimacy even becomes more frequent for a period of time. But emotionally, something feels disconnected, empty. Like you're beside someone whose body is there, but whose mind is somewhere else entirely. Human connection is emotional before it's physical. Real intimacy involves presence, vulnerability, responsiveness, emotional safety. And when emotional energy is invested elsewhere, the body often follows. Real intimacy involves presence, vulnerability, responsiveness, emotional safety, and when emotional energy is invested elsewhere, the body often follows. You start sensing distance in subtle ways. Less eye contact, less tenderness afterward, less emotional warmth in ordinary moments. Your nervous system notices these things even when your mind tries to rationalize them away. The fifth shift is sudden emotional coldness mixed with strange independence. She no longer seems emotionally invested in resolving conflict. Arguments become dismissive instead of emotional. And this is important because indifference is often more dangerous than anger. Anger still contains emotional investment. Indifference signals emotional withdrawal. You'll notice things like this. She stops caring whether you're upset. She stops checking in emotionally. Conversations become transactional. Your relationship begins to feel more like roommates sharing space than partners sharing emotional lives. And psychologically, this happens because emotional detachment is often necessary for someone trying to justify betrayal internally. The mind starts rewriting the relationship story. Suddenly, every old mistake becomes proof the relationship was doomed. Every flaw becomes magnified, not because the flaws are new, but because the brain is searching for emotional justification. Which brings us to the sixth and final shift, rewriting relationship history. This is one of the clearest psychological indicators that emotional disengagement has occurred. Suddenly, the relationship was always bad. Your love was never enough. Memories that once brought laughter now get rewritten through a negative lens. Why does this happen? Because the human mind struggles with cognitive dissonance. Most people don't want to see themselves as disloyal or hurtful. So to reduce guilt, the brain creates narratives that make betrayal feel emotionally justified. I was unhappy. I felt trapped. You stopped seeing me. Even if those conversations never happened before. And if you've been through this, I need you to hear me carefully right now. Do not ignore your intuition simply because you're afraid of what it might mean. Intuition is not paranoia. Your brain is constantly reading patterns, energy, body language, tone shifts, emotional inconsistencies. Healthy relationships are built on openness, emotional safety, and mutual transparency, not confusion and emotional survival mode. But I also want to say this with equal honesty. Suspicion alone is not evidence. Communication matters. Emotional maturity matters. Before assuming betrayal, there must be conversation, clarity, and truth-seeking without manipulation or revenge. Because relationships don't heal through accusation, they heal through honesty. And sometimes the hardest truth is realizing that emotional disconnection didn't happen overnight. It happened slowly, quietly, through unmet emotional needs, avoided conversations, emotional neglect, resentment, loneliness, and silence. So if this video resonated with you, don't just use it to investigate someone else. Use it to reflect on your own relationship patterns too. Ask yourself difficult questions. Are we emotionally connected? Are we communicating honestly? Have we stopped truly seeing each other? Because prevention is always more powerful than discovery. If this conversation helped you think differently about relationships, make sure you subscribe to the channel, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment below telling me which part hit you the hardest. And remember this, healthy love should bring clarity, not constant confusion. The moment you start feeling emotionally lost inside your own relationship, that feeling deserves your attention.